There's a hairline crack in the wall you share with Dale Whitaker, running from the light switch up to the ceiling in a slow diagonal, and both of you can see it from your own side of the house. Same crack, two sides. The duplex on Ardmore was built in 1974 and split straight down the middle, mirrored. So his kitchen is a reflection of your kitchen, and his front door sits 11 feet from yours across a slab of concrete pretending to be a porch. You sign the same lease on the same Thursday, $13.40 a month each. Same landlord, same failing water heater, same gravel sound when a truck turns in at 6 in the morning. You are both 30. You make $61,000 and he makes $63,000, which is to say, you make the same. Nobody is ahead, nobody is behind. Any test that existed that year would have printed the same answer twice. In February, you both get a refund. $3,140, near enough identical, deposited the same Friday because you filed with the same free software on the same laptop at his table. He buys a couch. It is a genuinely beautiful couch, deep and gray and long enough to sleep on, and you will sit on it 100 nights over the next decade and never once resent it. You open a brokerage account instead. It takes 11 minutes. You buy a total market index fund, which is the boring purchase of everything at once, and you set $520 a month to leave your checking account on the first, automatically, before you can have a feeling about it. That is the whole event. There is no revelation. Nobody claps. Two men in the same building did two ordinary things with the same money on the same Friday, and one of those things started a clock. You are 35. The account holds $37,200. You put in $31,200 of that yourself. The market added $6,028, which is less than you earn in a month. And if you were looking for proof you had done something clever, this is not it. 5 years of discipline bought you a used sedan's worth of growth. On the outside, nothing separates the two halves of the house. You and Dale drive the same age of car. You split a case of beer on his couch on Sundays. He got a raise, so did you. The only difference between you is a number on a screen he has never seen and would not be impressed by. And this is the part that makes the whole thing hard. At the beginning, the correct decision looks exactly like no decision at all. Here is what those 5 invisible years are actually worth, though nobody can see it yet, including you. The $31,200 you put in between 30 and 35, the stretch that produced $6,000 of growth and no story worth telling, will be worth roughly $302,000 by the time you are 65, without another cent added to it. 10 times what you paid, from the money that appeared to be doing nothing. The earliest dollars are the ones with the longest runway, which means they are also the most expensive dollars to skip, and there is no mechanism anywhere in the financial system for buying them back later at any price. This is the entire secret, and it is not a secret. It is written on the first page of every book on the subject. It just does not feel like anything while it is happening, and things that do not feel like anything are extraordinarily easy to postpone. Dale has reasons. This matters, so it is worth being precise about it. He is not lazy, and he is not stupid, and he does not spend money like a man in a music video. His daughter is born when he is 34. His mother moves closer, and the move costs $4,000 nobody planned for. The transmission goes. He gets married in a barn outside town, and it is a good wedding, and it costs $19,000. Every year he says next year, and next year is not a lie. It is a plan, spoken by a man who genuinely intends to keep it. He is doing what a little over half of American families do, which is having no retirement account at all, and he is doing it for the most human reason available. Something is always happening, And retirement is a thing that happens to a stranger 40 years from now. You are 40. The account reads $107,000. Your income has climbed and the contribution has climbed with it, but your rent went up $90 at renewal, and that is close to the only thing about your life that changed. Then, at 43, something happens that you almost miss. That year, the account grows by about $13,000 on its own, and you put in $12,600. For the first time, the money out-earns you. Not by much, by a few $100s, the price of a decent dishwasher. But the direction is permanent from here, and there is no announcement, no email, no moment on the porch. Your balance is $199,000, and something has quietly inverted underneath you. Dale starts at 45. He does it properly, which is the part nobody expects. A conversation at work about somebody retiring, a bad night, a spreadsheet at his kitchen table at 11 at night on the other side of your wall. He calls you the next morning and asks what you did with that refund 13 years ago. And you tell him, plainly, no lecture, and he says he wishes he had asked sooner, and you both let that sit. Then he opens a 401k and puts in the legal maximum, $24,500 a year, which is more than $2,000 a month, which is 4 times what you started with. He is not messing around. He never misses a month. At 50, he adds the catch-up contribution the tax code hands to people over 50, and at 60, he adds the enhanced one. Over 20 years, he will put $622,900 into that account, in his own money out of his own paycheck. Over 35 years, you will put in $555,000. He contributes $68,000 more than you do. He finishes $489,000 behind. Here is the arithmetic he runs at that kitchen table, and it is the reason he stops talking about catching up. At 45, your account holds $227,000. For him to reach the same place you reach at 65, he would need to move $3,417 a month into the market every month for 20 consecutive years, starting from nothing. That is more than the legal limit of his 401k. That is more than his mortgage payment. It is not a discipline problem. It is a physics problem. And there is a second number underneath it that is worse. If you stopped contributing entirely at 45, never sent another dollar, closed the transfer, forgot the password, that $227,000 would still grow to roughly $917,000 by 65 on its own, on money you finished paying for in your 40s. For Dale to match a portfolio you abandoned, he would have to put in $1,761 a month for 2 decades. $422,000 of his labor against 15 years of your patience. Nothing about your balance at 45 is glamorous. $227,000 does not let you quit, does not buy a house outright, does not change a single visible fact about your life. It is worth knowing that the median American household aged 55 to 64 holds about $185,000 in retirement savings. You pass the typical person 20 years older than you while still renting half of a house built in 1974. Then the market falls 34% over 10 months, because it always does eventually, and the timing is the cruelest possible joke. You are 47. Your account goes from $297,000 to $196. $101,000 evaporates on paper. More than 3 years of contributions gone while you watch it in weekly increments. Dale is 2 years in. He has $52,000 and loses 17. On a percentage basis, you are hit identically. On every basis that matters to a human being, you are not. You have 20 years of compounding behind you, and every falling month is buying you cheaper shares for the decades ahead. He has 22 months of evidence, and the evidence now says you were right to wait and wrong to stop waiting. He does not sell. He is braver than that, and you know it, and you never tell him. What he does is quieter. The roof needs $11,000 in the spring, and his daughter needs a car, and the market is red, and so he pauses the contribution, just for a while, just until things settle. 14 months. He restarts and never misses again. That pause costs him $90,000 by 65. 14 months out of 240 at the exact moment when pausing felt like the only sane thing a careful man could do. You should know what this cost on your side, because it did cost something. You were the one who did not come. You skipped the trip to Colorado twice. You drove a car with a bad rear speaker for 9 years, while everyone you knew traded up on a schedule. And the returns in this story are 7% a year, which is roughly what the American market has averaged over long stretches, and which the market has never once delivered on schedule. Run the same two lives at 5%, and you end with $1,221,000, and he ends with $1,032,000, and the gap between you narrows to almost nothing. That is not a footnote. In a weaker century, 15 years of your patience is worth a decade of his money, and no more. You are not being rewarded for being smart. You are being paid for time. And the price of time is set by a market that has never asked your name. But the century you get is the ordinary one, and so you watch the strangest part of the whole thing, which is the gap widening while he outspends you every single month. At 50, you have $422,000, and he has $146,000. The distance between you is $276,000. At 55, it is $322,000. At 60, it is $397,000. He is putting in more than you are, year after year, without fail. And the space between the two halves of the house keeps opening anyway, because your money is now doing work that his money has not been alive long enough to do. This is the thing that does not fit in the head. He is not gaining on you slowly. He is falling behind faster, with more money, while doing everything right. He asks you the number once. You are 52, standing in a parking lot after his daughter's graduation, and he asks it the way men ask things they have been carrying for a while. Sideways, half a joke, eyes on the middle distance. What are you actually at? You tell him. You do not round it down, because rounding it down would be a kind of insult. And you do not explain it, because explaining it would be worse. He nods for a long time. Then he says, "Good, that's good," and means every word of it, and asks if you want to get a beer. And you do. Nothing changes between you. That is the strange mercy of the whole thing. The gap is enormous and completely weightless in a parking lot. It only has mass on a screen and at the end of a life. You are 65. The account holds $1,780,000. You contributed $555,000 of it across 35 years, and the other $1,225,000 is money your money made while you slept, drove, argued, aged. At the standard 4% draw, it pays you $71,200 a year without touching the principal. More than you earned in the year you signed that lease. Dale has $1,290,000, and his 4% is $51,600. He is not ruined. That is important. He is far ahead of the average retired worker who gets a Social Security check of a little over $2,000 a month and not much else. He built a real thing in 20 years, and he built it with his back. The difference between you is $19,500 a year, forever, and something harder to write on a page. You could have stopped at 58 and been fine. He works to 67 because 67 is when the numbers close, and he is glad to have the option to reach it, and he never once complains about it in your hearing. Both of you win by any honest measure. Only one of you got to choose when it ended. That is what the 15 years bought. Not a better life, not a bigger house, not any single item you could point at. Just the right to name the date. You drive past Ardmore sometimes. The duplex is still there, still split down the middle, still rented to two people who make roughly the same money and do not know which half is which. Somebody has painted over the crack in the shared wall. It is still under there, the way it was that Thursday, running from the light switch to the ceiling in a slow diagonal, the same crack seen from two sides. And for one Friday in February, $3,140 sat in two accounts 11 feet apart. And one of them bought a couch you slept on and loved, and one of them bought 35 years. Neither of you knew. Neither of you could have. From inside the house, there is no gap at all. If you want to see what the next 15 years look like from the other side of that wall, subscribe.